2 years ago, a movie called Ouija came out, and I absolutely hated it. Ouija is a horror movie that I didn't like anything about it, thought the twist was really horrible and dumb considering what happened in the movie. And honestly, Ouija is one of those movies that if I reviewed it, I would give it absolutely 0 stars. So when there was news that they were going to make another Ouija movie, I thought, oh great, another one I have to see, right? And when it was announced that Mike Flanagan, the director of Oculus and this year's movie Hush, was going to do the second Ouija movie, part of me was thinking, Mike Flanagan, you're way better than this. There's no reason for you to direct this movie. And then another part of me thought, well, if anyone's going to do it, maybe it could be him, because I really enjoyed Oculus, and I think Hush is a really damn good movie. Then the trailers came out for Ouija Origin of Evil, and that's when I realized, oh, it's a prequel, and the trailers didn't do it for me, but I thought, you know what, gonna keep my fingers crossed, maybe Mike Flanagan can do something, because I respect him as a director after the other 2 films I've seen from him. And you know what? I think he pulled it off. This was a really good movie. So Ouija Origin of Evil is a prequel to the atrocity Ouija. Because this is a prequel, it tells the origin story of Doris and how she becomes who she is in the terrible Ouija movie. This is a single mother with 2 daughters that perform a scam on people, and it's not necessarily too much of a scam. They perform seances in order to pretend to talk to the dead, but it's more so as to try to give closure to the clients. The mother has a different way of seeing it, as she's trying to help those who need help. Sure, it provides money for them, but she doesn't see it as a scam, and I like how she sees it, because it seems like it's a person who's trying to really help people. Well, to spice up their service, they decide we're going to buy a Ouija board to help with the act. But unfortunately, as the Ouija board starts getting used, and as Doris is curious and tries to use it herself, things go really bad, because this is definitely not the house where you want to use a Ouija board, because haunted supernatural things. Now look, that plot summary sounds like a very stereotypical horror film, a very stereotypical supernatural movie, but to be honest, it didn't feel that way as I watched the film, because there's something about it that is just really engaging. Similar to other horror movies and other thrillers of this year, this tries to spice up the formula by having some actual drama in it, having some family drama, and really trying to bring it home to the point where you feel like, okay, I can get behind these characters. I can actually care about these characters. And for me, I did really care about the characters. Because not only are they dealing with a supernatural power, not only are they dealing with the possible possession of the youngest daughter, it's also a single mother trying to get by, trying to get enough money to raise her daughters and to survive. It's also about them having a recent loss of the father dying in some sort of accident, and them really missing them and how they cope with him being gone, and a few other things mixed together. Now, it's not a full-blown drama. It's not more of a drama than it is a horror film. So even though the supernatural stuff is very important and progresses the story, there's just enough drama where you feel like it might be a little bit more drama than supernatural horror, even though there technically is more supernatural horror than there is drama. And there's something about that that I can appreciate in Ouija Origin of Evil, because that's definitely not what Ouija was, the first one. God, that was horrible. And it's really always surprising to find an origin story, to find a prequel better than the first one, especially if it's dealing with characters you know exactly what's going to happen to them by the end. Because this is a family, you know which ones are going to die, which ones aren't, because of it being a prequel to the first one. And with 2 of these characters being the ghosts, being the supernatural beings in Ouija. So you know who's going to die, how it's going to happen, but there's something about this movie where there's enough drama, you care about the characters, and so you're curious how it is they're going to end up the way they are in the first one. And I actually liked how they tied it together by the end of the film. There is one little scene, this post-credit scene, that is kind of stupid. We did hear about a post-credit scene, so we wanted to stay to see what happens. And all it is just a confirmation of who we already knew the character was from the first one. So it's not worth watching unless you're really confused or have never seen the first one. Actually, if you've never seen the first one, you probably wouldn't even want to stay for the credits after the credits anyway. So with the drama there and actually motivating some of the characters and how they act with the Ouija, because the daughter is only interested in the Ouija, the young one that gets possessed, Doris, she's only interested in it because, hey, I want to talk to my dead father. He's gone, I miss him, I want to talk to him. And so it makes sense why she uses the Ouija the way she does until she eventually, well, you know. And you buy how the characters act with Doris as she starts developing supernatural powers and being able to talk to the dead using this Ouija board. The mother thinks it's a miracle because she wants to help people find closure and wants to talk to her dead husband as well, and so she sees it as a miracle, and you can understand why the teenage daughter sees, okay, there's something off about Doris. There's something really wrong about what's happening. Actually, I love how the spirits are manipulative in this movie. There's a few other really interesting things that I just don't want to get too much into because I want you to see it for yourself. Now, I'm sure most people are wondering, okay, well, it's a horror movie. How scary is it? Unfortunately, I am not the person that's going to be able to tell you how scary a movie is. For one, horror is subjective, so different people think different things are scary. I know some people that actually think jump scares are the best thing in horror movies and the only thing scary about horror movies. People are scared of different things. In fact, I've seen so many horror movies over the years that I'm sort of desensitized by horror. I've seen horror movies starting from such a young age that I just really don't get scared of movies unless it plays off a specific fear that I actually have. But I will say that sometimes movies still do creep me out, but that creep factor can sometimes be terrifying to other people. So on a scale of how scared I was with this movie, I wasn't scared at all at this movie. There was some creepy elements to it. I'm not going to deny that. Now the young actress playing Doris is Lulu Wilson. I thought she was really good in this movie. For the first part of the movie, she plays the innocent daughter. And look, I've seen many young actors play innocent characters at beginnings of movies and movies throughout. And so I can get annoyed by the kind of acting that comes with innocent characters, and sometimes it can get too mind-bogglingly dumb. It can get a little annoying and just irritating. For me, her innocent daughter act was actually fine. I had no problems with it whatsoever. But when she gets possessed, when she gets to the creep factor, she was unnerving and she felt like a totally different actress playing her. And so I think she did amazing. In fact, I think some of the makeup with the white eyes and the really snarly grin, it almost had reminiscence of Evil Dead to me, but creepy. And as far as scares go, there are jump scares. Let's face it, there are in movies nowadays, but they're so far and few between that it's very refreshing. And not only is there very, very few jump scares, now most of them, and there are a few still, but most of them aren't accompanied by a loud music or a loud musical note. There are still some, but I think there might be only two that I can recall that actually was accompanied by music or a loud note. But for the most part, the jump scares are not accompanied by music, and there's only one false jump scare that actually fits for the movie. Everything else is jump scares dealing with supernatural element, dealing with someone who dies, dealing with scary stuff. And very similar to The Conjuring 2, there are moments, probably even more so in this one, where there is a creature in the background, or a supernatural being, or the possessed Doris, where something creepy is happening in the background, and it's not accompanied by music. You know those kind of movies where it's like dun 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 kind of thing when you have something in the background, and so everyone immediately focuses on the background and jumps? This is one of those movies where it's completely silent as something is creepy in the background, which adds to the creep factor. And as bad as the trailers kind of look to me, as bad as the scares and the things that it shows in the trailer are bad, almost everything I thought was going to be a little was actually really good in context with the movie. And maybe that's just me because I was caring about the characters, but there's something about it where it doesn't fit in a trailer form, but when you see the moments in the movie, it works. I think it's a really great movie and leaps and bounds better than Ouija. And I also like the technique they used with the camera and the editing. It felt like it was an older movie in the same vein of maybe a late 60s or an early 70s movie. Now, whenever it's bright, whenever it's in the light, it looks like a crisp, clean digital movie. Whenever there's darkness and shadows in the film, it feels like more of a film, a classic horror movie of the 60s or 70s. They even have the little blips in the corner, and even the title of the film feels old-fashioned. But to be honest, I really liked it because it felt like it fit the era that the movie is set in. I think the setting was 1967 or something like that. And I like that they used as many practical effects as they could. There's only a few CGI moments, and that is like the hands that you see at the end of the trailer, the mouth opening really wide. For the most part, it's all practical. Even the demon, there might be some digital enhancements around the demon, but for most, actually it might not even be a demon at all. I mean, it looks like a demon, but it might actually be just a spirit. I thought I would honestly have issue with the elongated mouth because usually I don't like the elongated mouth. It looks dumb in horror movies, but for some reason it really worked in this one. And it felt a little bit more realistic despite the trailer. The trailer, it looked really dumb, but when it showed in the movie, it actually worked for me. The only nitpicky bad CGI thing that I had a problem with is the eye in the throat. They do this cliched moment where there's an eye in someone's throat, and it looked really bad, at least to me. For the most part, I really like this movie. I don't like it as much as Hush, but I'm going to give it the same score I gave Hush. I'm going to give Ouija, Origin of Evil, 4.5 stars. So yeah, huge improvement. The first Ouija, 0 stars. This one, 4.5, almost perfect. It was really damn good. So, did you see Ouija, Origin of Evil? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. If not, what is the most improved prequel, sequel, or remake of a horror film you have ever seen in your entire life? And if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews of 2015 and 2016. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.